All right, folks. So what you're looking at here is a 2003 Mercedes E320. Now, usually Mondays are what I like to call maintenance Mondays. And maintenance Monday just means I go around the homestead. I got to do what I got to do for anything that requires maintenance, which can honestly take up a full day at this point, especially when you have used vehicles, an old tractor, an RV, and then plus just things on the homestead, just general things. So today I have to replace a battery in this car because I got stuck at a gas station last week. So the car's been sitting here. Now, the reason I'm showing you this car is because I wanted to point something out. At first someone would look at this and be like, oh, look at this guy, he drives a Mercedes, and I'm also filming on my new phone. So what I want to explain to you guys here, there's a point to this, is that when you go and you want to homestead and live a lifestyle of self-sufficiency, or at least for me and my wife, one of our main goals out here was to live debt-free. That is, honestly, it's a big goal of a lot of people that go into this lifestyle, is trying to live debt-free, trying not to live under a 30-year mortgage, trying not to, just go in debt on car payments and things like that. So when you look at this car, you're like, oh, wow, this is a snazzy car. This is actually a 2003, and we paid cash for it. We got it for $3,500, and it's actually worth more than what we paid for it. So this car right now is actually an asset. It's a depreciating asset, but it's worth more than what we paid for it. And one of the things you gotta really kind of suck up your pride when you're doing this type of lifestyle of trying to be debt free is you have to say, okay, yeah, I like those new Ford Lightnings, with the F-150 with the all electric and everything, or yeah, I would love to have a new Tesla or a new Dually, but those are almost always going to be depreciating assets, and you're going to lose money, and you're going to have payments, and it's just going to strap you down. So even though I got to do things like this, put a new battery in the back in the trunk of the car, because the battery's in the trunk on this thing. I might have to change the fluids out in the tractor, add fluids to the tractor because it leaks everywhere, and make some repairs to it. An $8,000 tractor is better than a $50,000 tractor. But I would argue that a tractor is almost an asset out here because you can get so much done with these things that it saves you so much time. And I just, honestly, with one of these, I can say that I don't know how I managed this far without one now that you have one. And I was kind of afraid that was going to happen because you get hooked on this thing and you realize all the things you can get done. So, but this vehicle is going to require this machine will require a lot of repairs, and there's a lot of things that need to be done. I got to change out a lot of the hoses on it. I have to just do a lot of maintenance. So but when doing the math, I actually did an Excel spreadsheet on a tractor like this and looked up a lot of the parts, the hoses, and looked up what I paid for this thing versus what all those would cost. And even if I practically renew this tractor and rebuild it, I'm still coming in a good $20K under what I would pay for something of this size that's newer or new. So those are the kinds of decisions that we make a lot out here. So getting back to the point, it is worth it to do the maintenance on these types of things, even though I have to spend almost a whole day of a week now doing maintenance on vehicles and things like that. This truck right here, I've shown this a couple times. This truck was a great buy. I got this for $3,500. I've had it out here for over a year. Yes, it's old, and it's definitely got some issues. A lot of the stuff doesn't work. The door handles are broke. The seat is disgusting in it, but she runs well, and I was able to get a good deal on this truck. So, this is the type of thing where this is useful out here. It's not a new vehicle, and it's not something I'm going to go impress people with, but I don't want to impress people. I want to live debt-free. So that's how we roll out here. Our other car is a Toyota Yaris, and my wife was driving that to her work stuff because the Mercedes is, broken down for a day. So that's how we roll. But anyways, I'm gonna get back to work. Maintenance Monday is now Maintenance Tuesday. Over now. Most people would want to be debt free. I mean, I can't imagine anybody that says I want to be in debt. But saying it and doing it are two different things, and it's really difficult. Life, especially in this country, we have so many things that are just instant gratification, things that we tell ourselves we can't live without, and we're conditioned to feel like we can live without them. So a lot of times we'll get sucked into things and not realize that we don't really need those things. And one of the things that I've learned out here is how to eliminate payments as much as humanly possible. My wife and I now, we have a completely different mindset when we make purchases. We first will look at a cash option, and if we can't do it, most of the time we'll walk away from it, because we've learned over the years that there's a certain stress, a burden, a monkey on your back, if you will, when you're constantly having to make payments on something every month, and it just adds a little extra stress to your life. Now, of course, if those payments are bigger, that's going to be a bigger stress. So vehicles is probably the first thing for us. We have really put our foot down on not getting vehicles, that have payments, because we don't want to have to be worried about that out here on a homestead. When you're building a homestead, you need to be able to free up yourself monthly, because there's a lot of expenses that are just going to pop out of the woodwork, and you're going to have to be able to pay for those things. And if you got a bunch of payments, that could be really difficult. For example, like if I would have went and gotten a new tractor, a new tractor with a backhoe about the size of the one I have, you would be looking at, I don't know, $40,000 to $50,000 for a tractor like that. And for the size of tractor, we're talking like a 50 horsepower tractor. And I really quickly said, no way. I'd rather not have a tractor than to have a $50,000 bill that I gotta make payments on, because my wife and I, we couldn't just put the cash forward on that, and that would be a depreciating asset. So, and then we looked at used tractors, and so we decided that $8,000 was about the range that I was willing to spend, and I was willing to put money into that machine after the fact, but I didn't want to go too much higher than that. So if I would have went, say, 20 or 30,000, then I wouldn't have had the money to go into that purchase to fix it. Things. So a lot of the things out here that really get you are the nickel and dime expenses. And I've mentioned this earlier, is that you'll come up with a monthly budget, and then after a few months of living like this, you'll start realizing, you're like, wow, there's a lot of little expenses eating away at our monthly budget here. So we've learned to kind of curve and kind of curtail some of those, and we've gotten a little smarter about things. Gas is a big one out here, generators, tractor, vehicles, since we live so far out from civilization, if you will. We're not that far out, really, but we live a lot further, than we used to from things like, so, gas is quite a bill now, so we really have to be a lot smarter about our trips. And this truck right over here, it basically sits unless I absolutely need to use it for something, and I'm making sure I'm making a full trip out of it, because that thing gets 9 miles to the gallon. So gas is a big one. Animals are another one, and I'll tell you, animals will get you. They're the expense that will really nickel and dime you. And I think when people first come homestead, or they want to live this lifestyle, farming and animals kind of, it's kind of the way everybody does it, right? So you assume, you're like, well, if I'm going to homestead, I need a bunch of animals. Why do I need animals? Well, they provide me food. Do they? After a little while, you'll start to realize that, you got to figure out a way to pay for this food every month. And if you're paying for their food and they're giving you eggs, are you getting enough eggs to pay for that food? And are you really eating that many eggs? And for us, the answer was no. I mean, we had a couple dozen chickens, and I'd say it was about a dozen too many, because I'm not doing anything else with them. They're cool to have. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy them, and I like listening to them crow all day. It actually is really kind of a calming sound for me. It brings me back to my childhood. But so I can call them therapy chickens, I guess. But the reality of it is if you're not running an operation with these animals to try to get that money back and recoup it, they will nickel and dime you pretty bad. We have 2 pet goats. They're expensive. Goats they're not horses. Horses, I have a neighbor that has some horses, and I would not want those bills. He told me it's like minimum probably costs $150 a month to feed those things, and that's just a feed, and that doesn't count all the medical expenses and other things that you might have to deal with. So I would say if you're going into homesteading, be really, really careful about getting animals initially. I know people want them. Get a couple chickens. Don't get like I did and go get 2 dozen chickens. I did not need 2 dozen chickens. I would get, like I said, a couple chickens. If you're gonna get a goat or anything like livestock, you better have a plan, and you better map out their food expenses. I'll tell you, the chickens right now, like I said, right now I'm down to like 20 chickens total with the roosters. They're costing about $30 to $35 a month right now. The goats, I would say we have 2 goats. They're smaller. They're costing us probably about the same. The dogs, they cost us, I would say about that. Maybe a little more. So, between those three sets of animals right there, we're already at $100 a month. So $100 a month just gone on animals, just feeding them. So, I would say that's a real big one. And I see so many people that have post their homesteads and they just got so many animals. And I just sit and wonder how are they paying for those things? Are they getting their money back from them? And I'm telling you, a lot of people go broke doing that. So it's something that I really took a step back from right now, and I said, not mess with animals until I have a plan. Another big expense would be, of course, like I already mentioned, is car payments. That if I wanted to get a dually or a truck and have car payments on that thing, man, it would almost be depressing right now, because I don't think I would be feeling really good about myself. Mortgage. We don't have a mortgage out here. We bought the land in cash. If you can do that, do it. If you can get a cash deal on land, that's the best way to go, obviously. You want to try to do that. It's nice for us to not have that overhead every month, and it helps us to be able to put our money into the homestead. So that's a big one. I know it's easier said than done. A lot of times you have to go to payments. I get it. Obviously, if I had to do it, I would. But I'm saying we were fortunate enough to not have to do that. What else? Just nickel and dime things like tools. A lot of times you'll put jobs off because it's a lot of work up front. But the reality is, a lot of times those things will save you a lot of money in the long run. Solar's a big one. If I were you coming out and doing a homestead, I would just save your money until you have enough for a solar array before you decide to come out and homestead, because the gas for these generators will kill you. It's expensive to run a generator all day. If you want to run a generator for 24 hours, even like a small 3,000 watt generator, you're going to go through 5 to 6 gallons of gas. Gas is expensive right now, so that's easy math right there. $5 a gallon, that's $30. Let's say $25 a day minimum. So you're already at $700 a month or something like that, $750. And that's just money being blown. So if you took that money and instead of going out and homesteading initially, and you just waited a few more months and saved up, you could get yourself $3,000 small solar array, vastly cut down your expenses. Now that's Arizona. I don't know about other places. The sun doesn't shine as much in places like Maine or up north, so that can be different for you. Like I said, heating and cooling expenses are big. Propane's another one. That one, was kind of a bill I didn't even think about. So that was one. Cell phones, that's a big one. Cell phones will get you. Right now, our cell phone bills, we're through T-Mobile. Kind of have to have them. I mean, I for us, because I do a lot of YouTube videos. And I finally have monetized my YouTube, so I can at least justify this expense now. But before I couldn't justify it really. I mean, not the expensive plans that we had. We could went with something a lot cheaper. So it looks like we got a storm coming, but it is hard to tell sometimes out here, because sometimes it'll look bad and it's not gonna be. But the way the wind's blowing right now, it seems like something's coming. So I decided the best thing to do is to buy a swimming pool. Actually, 2 swimming pools. So got 2 swimming pools, and I think we're just gonna go swimming and just forget about our problems. 1 pool for each of us. So you're probably like, okay, haha, what are the swimming pools for? Well, the swimming pools are actually going to be for temporary cisterns, and these cisterns are going to hold water for us. They're about 4,000 gallons each, and if they're good enough for people to swim in, then they're good enough for us to store water in. Also, I'll be putting some stucco around these. I'll show that process, of course, in another video. But in the meantime, I'm going to get one of these pools set up, so when this next rain comes, I'll be able to catch some water. Actually, it looks like they're 3,500 gallons, not 4,000. So, oops. But anyways, that's what I'll be doing.